I'm Brianna, and you're in the lab, and I know how much you love hanging out here with us, but Chris Krug is here to show you how you can get involved in your tech community today on the lab.
Good to see you and welcome to the lab. This is the place, your community on TV, where you learn all about technology and the internet and cell phones and camcorders and MP3 players and digital cameras and home theater and, yes, the internet community. Hello,
yes,
Brianna. How are you? Good to see you today.
You?
Fantastic. Monique Trottier is here. She's going to show you how to put analytics on your website so you can see what people are doing when they're visiting you. That's important. As you mentioned, Chris Krug is going to talk about getting involved in the tech community. Bill Jellin, Mr. Excel, going to help us print. We've got lots of calls, lots of tips. I know you've got a site, Crazy Egg.
Yeah, which is also helping you out with your website.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, let's get our first call today.
Sure.
What do you say?
It's Bonnie, and she's from Dumontagne in Quebec.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
She's very good, isn't she? Hello, Bonnie. How are you?
I'm great, Leo. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Welcome to the show, and let me help you. What a great, first of all, let me say what a great picture we have. This is fantastic. Yeah. Did you set it up just so the plant would be there? And it's so pretty.
Well, a little bit, and this is really our little tech corner of our house. This is our living room area, actually. We have a very big living room. We live in an older house.
It's gorgeous.
And so what's behind me, what you see behind me is actually, I'll move a little bit, that's my husband's workstation.
Yeah, very nice.
And I have I had the exact same setup, only obviously you can't see
Oh, isn't that cute? So you work back to back, kind of.
Yeah, we work back to back, and what we do is we have a small recording studio, and my husband Dave, he actually uses both stations simultaneously at sometimes if he's doing videos with his music or if he's doing his mastering.
Isn't it wonderful what you can do now? I mean, in a home office with off-the-shelf technology, you can record as well as you could in a full studio just a few years ago.
Oh, the sound he's getting is phenomenal.
Yeah.
We started by doing just little demos and little things here and there, and he's getting a very good, very big sound.
What kind of music is it?
Well, it's indie. We do rock and roll. We had recently we had a small band from our local high school. They do punk.
So you record others too. That's neat.
Yeah, and as well, he does annual job for a company that does a language game.
Oh, neat.
So we record the little characters for them.
Oh, what fun! Oh, you're set.
Really, so he does a variety of things, and he started playing also with videos, and he does a really neat melange, if you will, if I can use a little bit of French.
Yeah, we know what melange is.
Petit melange with the digital photos and with his digital video camera. He's done some fabulous things for our family.
Wow, that's really cool.
Posted on the internet on our site.
Well, what can I do to help you? It sounds like you're pretty wired. I'm not sure I have anything to offer.
Oh, well, we have been an internet presence, I guess, for a good 10 years now.
Wow. What's the site?
He has recently retired from being a stay-at-home dad.
Oh, neat.
And so he was home for 13 years, so he didn't just sit at home doing nothing. He learned quite a few things.
I'm jealous that he got to do that. That sounds wonderful.
Oh, and he did a fabulous job.
Oh, you must be really grateful to him.
Oh, very much so, very much.
That's really great. So what's your site? What's your website?
Well, our website is sargentstar.com. If I will spell it for you, sargentstar.com.
So you're not spelling Sargent with the French spelling?
No, it's actually the two of our last names merged.
Ah, cool.
Mashed, if you will.
And it's Montreal Indie. That's great.
Montreal Indie Music. And what my question is actually, up until a few days ago when I would do a vanity search of my name, our site would pop up. It would be the first hit.
Yeah.
Now, my husband, he did some fiddling around, and I don't know, he covered something, he did something, but I'm no longer the first hit. But things happen.
Well, it's probably not him. It's probably... So when you do a search for Sargent Star, you're saying?
Well, no, it used to be by actually my name, Bonnie Sargent.
Bonnie Sargent, and you would be first.
Yes, and my name would come up as first, and then if you would hit that, then it would come to our studio.
Now, did it disappear, or did it just move down?
Well, it's moved down to the second page now.
Oh, goodness, that's quite a drop.
Yeah, and what he's told me he did, he was putting up a video clip onto the site, and he accidentally covered my name for just a short span of time, and it dropped off from the
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me give you some hints on how you can get back where you want to be, because you do want to be first on Google. I mean, if somebody searches for Bonnie Sargent, you would like to show up. Now, most of us don't have that luxury. If you search for Leo Laporte on Google, it does show up first. I'm grateful to say. But if you search for Leo on Google, it does not show up first. So it's a nice thing, but people who are looking for you by name are going to probably look through at least the first page. But it'd be nice to be on the first page anyway. So let me give you a couple of hints on how to improve your ranking here. Now, what Google looks at is the title of the page, and you have a good title, Montreal Indie Music Recording. Those 4 words are great because those are kind of the most important words on the site, believe it or not. That's in the title tag. And that is the page that the title that the window will have. That's very important. Google treats that almost like this is what they want to be searched on. So if you wanted to get your name up there, if you said Bonnie Star Montreal Indie Music Recording, that would help. I'm not sure you want to do that. The other thing is that the most important part of the page is the beginning of the page, the first, say, 150 characters. So if I look at the source code of your page, this is something probably everybody should do. And we're going to talk a little bit about this with Monique a little bit later, is how to kind of look at your page and how to look at your hits. But the first, Google doesn't go very deep. It only goes maybe down to here. And you want to get in the first parts of the page the text, the most important text for it to Google you on. Now, notice up here you have some script stuff that is before the text, quite a bit of it. Google isn't going to get any value out of that, and it's not going to help you with your Google ranking. So I suggest moving this down to the bottom of the page. It won't hurt anything. You do now have your menu structure, and there's your name, and it's still pretty high up, but I would like to see it higher up on the page. And I'm talking about the page source code, the HTML for the page. Google only pays attention to, I can't remember what it was, but the first 150 to 250 words are really important. I think it's the first 1,500 characters it's looking at. That it really is important. And there are all sorts of tricks that SEOs use. None of those are search engine optimizers. None of them really are going to make that much difference. The most important thing is the title, the beginning text. You have some real content in there that the engine will index. It's also, Google does pay attention to how long you register your site for, because one of the things they're fighting against are these hit and run sites where it's just a bunch of links. It's a link farm. So if you only register your site for a year or less, they go, we don't know how serious to take them. So I always register my sites for a minimum of 3 years to say, look, I'm here to stay. I am not, I'm not gaming Google. This is a real site. I'm sure you've been around so long, it should show up very high. How about if you search for Pleiadius Films? I bet you show up #1 on that one.
Well, if you search on just Pleiadius, that's actually my husband's.
That's the company. Oh, then you go to YouTube. Look at that.
Yeah, he comes right up on the top. I think there's only 2 on the whole of the internet.
Yeah, that's why it's always great to have a unique name, for sure. And that's something people should pay attention to. I've heard that people, when they name their children now, Google the name first to make sure that it's going to be a somewhat unique name on Google. That's an interesting strategy. I'm not sure I'd make my child's name based on that, but it's something to think about. John Smith has a much harder time showing up on Google than, say, Bonnie Sargent or Leo Laporte.
Oh, that is so funny.
Well, I think what you're doing is great. I'm really thrilled to see this. This is a great site. It clearly reflects you well. I think the design is beautiful. You're doing a great job. And yeah, I mean, what Google says is just keep doing good content. Another way to get highly ranked is to get people to link to you. It may not be anything your husband did. It may be that one of the 2 of the sites that were linking to you stopped. And that can actually impact your Google ranking very quickly.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's possible.
Yeah, get highly ranked sites to link to you. You will search high. Okay?
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Leo. We love you, and we've been watching you since the early days back, Call for Help.
Way back when.
Oh, yeah. And if you would say hi to Sean and his shiny things.
I will. He's right there. This is actually, well, thank you, Bonnie. I really appreciate it.
Bonnie.
This is actually a good time to say hi and bye to Sean. This is his last show. He's moving back to Toronto.
Oh, he is.
So wave goodbye to Sean, because we're losing him. He'll show up from time to time on the show, I promise. We're not going to let him get away that easy. But
he'll be back closer to our neck of the woods. And
he'll be nearer to you.
And argue hockey.
He'll be back with hockey, and you can see him on LabRest.tv, of course, too. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Leo. One last thing, if we could get an autograph, that would be just so nice.
Oh, of course. Hang on the line. I'll get Brianna, I'll get your address, and we'll make sure we sign something for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you.
Thank you. You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Monique is coming up in just a bit. Monique Trottier is going to show us how to optimize your site to get the most hits possible. Google Analytics. You stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. Monique Trottier is here. Back to the lab. We're so glad to have you back. President of Boxcar Marketing. She also does a newsletter for the non-techie who wants to keep up on technology called the Underwire Newsletter. Get this, full support for non-techies. I like that. It's great to have you back, Monique.
Thank you very much.
So today we're going to talk about what we just talked about in a way with Bonnie, which is making sure that your website is doing all it can for you. I mean, it really is an important part of your business, isn't it?
It is, and I think if you start looking at your web stats, you'll see that 60 to 80% of your traffic comes from search. So it's really important that you show up in search engines not just for your company name or the product name or the trade names or any of those things. You have to start thinking about what are the other words that people are going to use to search for you.
How are they going to find you?
Yeah.
But I want to kind of underline that. You're saying that people aren't going to this browser and entering in an address. They go to Google and enter in a search term, and that's how they get to you.
Exactly. So we Google it, and if we don't find it in the first page, sometimes if we're diligent and we really are specific in what we're looking for, we know that this thing exists, we'll go to page 2 or 3. But for the most part, we're stopping at page 1, and we're looking at results in spot 1, 2, or 3.
Look at your behavior as you use Google at home. Do you ever go click that page 2, page 3, page 4?
Exactly.
You don't. You start right at the top there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a good place to start if you're trying to increase your traffic or increase your presence in search is to figure out how are you doing compared to your competitors.
Oh, interesting. How do we do that?
There are a couple of free tools that you can use. So one of them that I like to use as sort of a quick check is called marketleap.com, and I can show you that here.
Okay.
What you do, I sort of randomly chose 2 competitors. I picked Pepsi and Coke.
Perfect.
So we'll do a little taste test online.
Oh, okay.
But you would put your domain name here. So in this case, as an example, I put Pepsi.com and the competitor Coke.com. And you can put up to 3. And you sort of click on the link Generate Report. And I've sped it up a bit and already done that.
Is this using Google for this?
It actually searches across 6 top search engines. So it looks at Google, Yahoo, AOL. Thank you, tongue-tied today. So what that report looks like...
Who wins? I'm just curious.
Well, this is where it becomes interesting. You sort of scroll down and you can see that Coke.com is definitely a contender.
Yeah.
It has, between 20,000 and 100,000 references to it in search engines.
But Pepsi has almost twice that.
Yeah, Pepsi is a real player. It has over 100,000 references to it online.
As many as GeorgeWBush.com. I don't know. So it's putting you in a list of other sites to give you an idea of where you stand.
It's a quick check to see where you stand. Yeah. Because if you want to start improving your site, some people will think, oh, well, I'm going to go look at my competitor site. And you want to actually know that if you're going to if you're going to base your changes on your competitor, you want to make sure they're doing better than you are. Because there's no point
making yourself worse, going backwards.
Yeah.
Wow, this is interesting. That's marketleap.com.
Yeah, so with marketleap.com, or there's another service, compete.com, you can get a quick look at what the traffic for those 2 sites looks like over time. Again, you can see that Pepsi has more unique visitors over the past year than Coke.com. And these it's not an indication of how good the site is. It's just an indication of its online reputation, of how it's doing, how many references there are online.
Very interesting.
So it's a good place to start as a benchmark to know how do you compare.
You'd also want, it seems to me, to know how people are searching for you, like what terms they're using to find you, because that's kind of going to tell you something about where you should optimize, right?
Right.
How do we find that out?
Well, in that case, hopefully you have a really good stats package, and their Google Analytics is a free package that you can use. Lots of web hosts have things like Webalizer or Awstats. So they're free packages, but they don't really give you as much or as good information as you can get on Google Analytics.
I use Google Analytics, and it's really kind of amazing what you can find out about your pages.
I like it. And you can have reports that are sent to you on a regular basis.
And it's free.
Yeah.
So just embed a little text in there. Yeah.
So I have a client that's the Canadian Geothermal Energy Association, and they are using Google Analytics.
So you'll do this with your clients and analyze what that means and tell them what they should do? That's interesting.
Yeah, I'll help them understand.
So pretend I'm this Cangia and tell me what I should do.
Well, what I would say to you is have a look in your traffic stats.
Okay,
you want to
this is
look
where traffic's coming from.
Yeah, so we're looking at Google Analytics for this site. And there's a section here, traffic sources.
Right.
And that's going to give us a nice little overview so we can see, oh yes, look, it's 63% is coming from search. Yeah. And then we can see direct traffic, so people who are actually typing into the address bar at the name.
That's only 17%.
It is, and that's a fairly typical mix.
But you do get a lot of links from other sites, and that's important too.
Yeah, referring sites are very important, as you were mentioning to the caller.
Having links
from high-ranking sites are good. One of the nice things that you can see is a list of keywords. And these are keywords that people have used on a search engine before they came to this site.
Interesting.
And this is the key. The key is the keywords. So if you
search for geothermal, you search for geothermal energy,
Cangia, any of those things.
But Cangia was not number one.
It wasn't. It was quite far down the list.
Yeah.
Same with Canadian Geothermal Energy Association.
Right. People aren't going to type that all out.
And the key here, again, is don't stop at the top 10.
Okay.
And this is where Google Analytics is really great. You can see the top 1,000.
So these are terms people use. Now, they're only in Google, but since Google is so dominant, why not?
But this is actually showing you the keywords that people have used in any search engine.
Oh, okay. So even
Google,
though it's Google
Yahoo,
Analytics.
MSN, that's right.
Oh, interesting.
That's right.
They're agnostic as far as what search engine you're using. Very cool.
So you can start to see
how would I act on that?
List.
What would I do about that?
Yeah.
Now, so let's say I know people when they're searching for geek, they're looking for me, they search for geek.
Right.
How would I take advantage of that?
Right. Well, I used to work for a book publisher, and they had a section on their website for teacher guides.
Yeah.
And these were things that teachers could use in the classroom, activity sheets, questions about novels. When I was looking at the analytics for them, I scrolled down the list, and at the very bottom was lesson plans. And I thought, well, what is lesson plan? That's an interesting, how is that different than teacher guide?
Right.
So I asked a couple of teachers, I said, when I say teacher guide, what do you think that means? And they said, oh, like a workbook or something for a teacher.
But what I really want is a lesson plan.
I want a lesson plan with activities and questions that I can ask in the classroom.
That's what So did they change the terminology, or maybe they added some descriptions?
Yeah, they did.
But it tells you so that you're fitting what the expectations are of your incoming. Now, what I'd also like to know is what my competitors' search words are, because I'd like to steal some of that traffic from them too. Yeah, is there any way to find that out?
There is. What you can do is start with sort of that root keyword. So in our Cangia example, geothermal energy. There are a couple of tools that you can use. This is there's wordtracker.com, and the tool that we're looking at right now is the SEO book keyword suggestion tool. And it draws results from WordTracker.
So it's going to give you some ideas for what words you want to improve your score on.
Yes.
And you might include some of that verbiage in your site.
Exactly. So when we search for geothermal energy, we can scroll down and it's showing us advantages of geothermal energy, diagram of geothermal energy. How does geothermal energy work?
Now, I mentioned to Bonnie that the importantest word should be, importantest is not a good word. The most important, thank you, Monique. The most important word should maybe be in the title of the page and early on in the page, because that's what Google looks at most highly.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't wrong.
No, you were dead on. So you want to take that list and run it possibly through something like the Google External Keyword Tool. And that's going to let you see which of those keywords have a lot of traffic. And then you can start thinking about how do I take the words that have a lot of traffic and put that into my page titles,
Look at your
into
menu
the copy,
bars.
into the menu.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Monique's great. Monique, I'm sorry, is great. She's president of Boxcar Marketing. You can find out more about her at boxcarmarketing.com.
That's right.
And that newsletter is at boxcarmarketing.com/underwire. I'm going to start subscribing to that because I'd like to learn a few things about tech myself. Thanks, Monique.
You're
I really
welcome
appreciate it. We're going to take a break, come back in more with a lot more. We've got a great show planned for you. But first, a close-up look at something you might find around the studio. Oh, yes, that's Sean's cheese grater.
No.
No? Oh. Well, tell you what, think about it. We'll tell you a little later when Call for Help. I mean, the lab returns. I owe you another $5. What the heck is that? It looks like a Mac enclosure. I'm thinking it's a Mac Pro box. It is. I got one. You're just being kind on me because it's your last day, Sean Carruthers. Yeah. You're going to still send us the What the Tech pictures, though. We can still do the game, right? It'll be stuff you'll find around labrats.tv now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the...
We'll work on that.
Hey, let's get another caller on the air. Brianna, who do you have for us?
I have Dylan from Kingston, Ontario.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Dylan.
Hi, Leo.
How are you today?
Pretty good, and yourself?
Couldn't be better. I'm feeling fine and fed as a fiddle. So what can I do for you?
I just wanted to know if you knew of any programs for the Mac, like Fraps for Windows, that records in-game footage for things like Counter-Strike or
right.
World of Warcraft.
That's a very popular thing to do. And you know, you upload those to YouTube or and there are other places. There's that new Strutta.com where people could compete and so forth. So that's a cool way to show off. Fraps is very popular on Windows. Used to be they'd build these things. You know, Quake used to had that built in. I don't know why games don't do that anymore. I wish they did because that made it much easier. In fact, that's one of my concerns about running this stuff is it eats up memory, eats up CPU cycles that normally would be going toward the game. So anytime you have something running in the background, it can impact your game performance. I'll show you a couple that I really like. This is a new one that is now my new favorite screen capture utility, bar none. It's called ScreenFlow. Now, this is really designed for people who want to do screencasts. Actually, Bill Jelen, you should take a look at this because he does screencasts of Excel. Now, it's Mac only. That's the negative. So you're not going to be able to use it for your Windows Excel. Maybe you can do a Mac Excel thing. It's Verisoft.com. Now, it's not cheap. It's $100. Although I have to say, given Camtasia Studio costs $300 or $400, it's very inexpensive. Now, here's what's cool about this, and the reason I like this a lot. And this may not be something you care about, Dylan. It records your video. If you've got an iSight, it'll record your video while it's recording the screen. And then, after you're done, and it does a very good job, it really seems, it's the best screen capture utility in terms of using CPU cycles I've ever used. And then when you're done, you have a video that you can intercut between a picture of you and a picture of the screen, or you can even inlay yourself as a picture-in-picture within the screen. And it records your voice as well, if you ask it to, as well as, of course, the audio from the computer. So it's really designed for somebody narrating what's going on. So if you wanted to say, all right, we're going to show you how to, solve a problem in Call of Duty. You see that building over there? All right, let's go take it. And they'll hear you. They'll see your picture. Then you can dissolve your picture away. You can bring it back. It's got transitions. It's really a full editing program that allows you to put titles on and stuff. It's really quite amazing. Now, that may be overkill, and I know it's overexpensive because it's $99. But this knocks everything I've ever seen out of the water. And, yeah, sure, it's cool to have, the video of your game, but wouldn't it even be more cool to have it, start with a picture of you talking about it, go to the game, maybe put yourself in a part of the game. You can annotate it, you can draw arrows, you can do all sorts of stuff. So this is an amazing program. It does require an OS X Leopard. It is not for earlier versions of OS X because it uses some of the newer features in OS X. I've been using it and I've been really impressed with it. That's called ScreenFlow. A very popular one from Ambrosia Software is probably the other choice that I would recommend. It's less expensive. Both of these you can download and try before you buy, and I would strongly suggest doing that because we want to make sure you can still game while you're doing this. This is called Snaps Pro X. And this is simply a screen capture utility. It's pretty efficient. We use it when we make Mac Break, which is the high-def video podcast that I do. We shoot that at 1080p, and we've got a lot going on, and we record in the background with Snaps Pro, and it does a great job. Try before you buy. There are a few others. I'll put links to the others in the show notes, but in my opinion, there's like I Show You and others. And in fact, I think the folks do Saget and Camtasia are doing, aren't they doing a Mac version? What's that going to be called?
To be determined. They're still
we don't
working
know.
on it.
So that may, in other words, this is a very busy business right now, and there's that's called tech. They're called TechSmith. They do Windows stuff, but they're entering into the Mac world. So clearly, this is a growth industry. I have to say, I immediately bought ScreenFlow. Everybody I know is excited about this, and I think ScreenFlow is going to start. You're going to see me and a lot of others do some amazing things with screencasts and video mixed together. I'm just very excited about this. So there's a couple of choices for you. Nothing quite like Fraps. I show you might be the closest thing to Fraps. That's only, I think, $20, 20 or 30 bucks. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Dylan, I thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Let me wander over before it gets too late in the show. We're running out of time here. I want to show Sean's Shiny. And what would that be? We've got a lot of stuff here.
I'm going to start with a problem here.
Okay.
You've got your notebook computer.
Yes.
And you've got a mouse plugged into it.
Yes.
Now you want to plug your iPod into it.
Yes.
So you have to unplug your mouse, right?
Well, if you only have one
then
port,
you have something else you want to plug in.
and then you start to run low.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a huge mess.
We need a hub.
We need a hub. But how about
we need a portable hub.
We need a portable hub. So
This
here's
is it.
the Belkin Swivel Hub.
Oh, this is cool. Look at this.
And this right here is designed to be portable. It's only $30, so it's cheap.
So it's a 4-port USB hub, not powered.
Not powered.
But that makes it more portable, and of course it folds up. But this is the neat thing. You never know exactly what angle the port's going to be at, do you?
Right, so we've got a problem down here in that we've got a power connector right next to our USB port.
Right.
So what we can do is we can bend it like that.
Oh, it even swivels that way.
It swivels that way. We can turn it this way or this way.
Oh, look, I like that.
And now we can plug in
How much is that? I can get up to 4 devices on
You can
there.
get up to 4.
How much is that?
It's $30. Here's one thing about it, though, is that, as you mentioned, it's unpowered like
So
this.
You don't want to plug too many devices in there.
Right. It does actually come with a power adapter as well, just in case.
Oh, you can, but it's big.
But look at
bigger
it.
than the device.
It's bigger than the hub itself. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, so most of the time you'll use it unpowered, but if you really needed a powered hub, like for driving a CD-ROM burner or a hard drive, then this would be necessary.
Right.
Pros and cons.
There you go. Well, tilt swivels into the position that you need it to fit it in there.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. It does travel well.
I do too.
Unfortunate thing is the power brick, as you mentioned, is bigger than the hub.
It's also, yes.
It actually can sort of dislocate here. It's not
The part.
not the most.
The swivel can fall off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know whether you could hear that.
It didn't sound good. Thank you, Sean. A great Shiny. All right. Appreciate it. Coming up, Mr. Excel is coming up to show you some printing tricks. But first, our quick quiz question of the day. What was the name of Microsoft's first spreadsheet program? Was it Excel 1? You should know this, Mr. Excel 1.0. Was it Multiplan? Was it Excel Spreadsheet? Was it Lotus 1, 2, 3? We'll talk about it a little later on as the lab continues. Yes, you too can learn Excel from Mr. Excel, not only here on the TV show, but on his website, MrExcel.com. And his this book, he's actually giving it away. He's actually giving it away. You can download the book on the website. You're crazy.
You're
crazy.
One download.
But you know what's neat is it's actually selling more books than it sold before, just because people find the book, they love it.
All right.
They have it. It's great because you can search it on the computer, but then you also really do want the print version. Look how nice. I mean, what you did great was it's got big print, big illustrations. It's really easy to read.
And it's question and answer. These are questions that came in during the seminar, and there's the answer. And of course,
I am trying to trace how a formula is calculating. What should I do? Strategy, and then how to do it. It's really great.
And then what can go wrong, and then what to do about it. And it's just
great. There's gotchas.
Absolutely, yeah. Although it's funny, so in this free download, they're being downloaded around the world, and someone said, "I love your book."
What's gotcha?
What's this word, gotcha?
You're gonna have to rethink your strategy now that you're a global industry.
So I had to go look it up. It's a contraction of got you.
Yeah, right. But it's not exactly good English. Bill, we're gonna talk a little bit right now about printing in Excel. Something we don't talk about a lot, but it is an important part of it.
Right, and specifically what they added in Excel 2007.
Okay, good.
All right, so that we have some new things. And before in Excel, we had a couple of tools. We had Print Preview.
Right.
All right, so I have a workbook here, but it's a huge workbook. There's dozens and dozens of pages. And if I would go to Print Preview, this was the old tool.
Okay.
Right? And we see one page at a time, and I'd have to click next. And they give me the zoom where I have a choice between seeing half the page or all the page. That's what we had.
That's your choice.
And even in the old Excel, there was something called Page Break Preview Page break preview would just draw in the blue lines between the pages.
Now that's important. You want to know if you're cutting a table off or something.
Sure, that's true. But they added a brand new layout here in Excel 2007 called Page Layout View. And I really like this view. Here's what's nice about it is it shows the data on the page. So here's my grid, but then it shows the white space as well.
Right.
So if I want to add a header or footer, I just simply click where the header or footer should go.
So it's live. That's nice. Yeah.
And this new zoom slider they have down here in the same section, watch what happens when I zoom out.
Oh, great.
I can see
multiple pages, the whole thing if you want.
Yeah, pretty much. So, in this case, there's 8 across times 3. I can see 24 pages at once.
And that's enough to really get a sense of what your whole thing is. That's really great, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, also in the header and footer, I can't believe I would fly to Canada to talk about headers and footers, but...
Hey, if it bugs you, you talk about it. It's okay. That's what we're here for, Bill.
They gave us a whole new ribbon tab for header and footer, so it's very easy now to put in something like page number.
Because those are all variables, so you have to know what that, the syntax is and all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And something new, this has been in Word for probably since the beginning, I would have to guess. We can now set up headers and footers that have a different first page.
Oh, finally.
Different odd and even pages.
Oh, like a word processor.
Right.
So if you're making a book, you don't want to have, the inside page be different from the outside page. That's great. That's a big improvement.
Okay, so here's one that drives me crazy all the time. I always create a report and I put a header that says profit and loss.
Yeah.
Profit and loss. And then when I go to print that, the ampersand never ever shows up.
Oh, because the ampersand is a special character.
It's a special character. Yeah, so here's my secret trick. To put an ampersand in the header, you have to put ampersand, ampersand. Because when we look at this header, ampersand page or ampersand pages. Yeah, so the code for...
It's ampersand, ampersand. In fact, as soon as you clicked away from it, it did the right thing. Did you notice that?
Ah, that's interesting. And if
so the preview works.
Oh, you see.
Now, what do you get if you click away from it? Nothing.
There you go. In the old Excel, you'd have to print.
Right.
And then, of course, I would make 24 copies and send it out to the world.
Of profit loss.
Long before I would realize that.
Here's your profit loss.
I know I typed an ampersand. And then you come back, I did type an ampersand.
Now I'm really confused.
So this new page layout view is great.
That really is nice, yeah.
Even if we want to go out, I don't know if I can hit the right edge of the worksheet here. Sure I can. Even if I go out to the right edge of the worksheet, the old page break preview, it wouldn't let you go beyond. Right. But now I can, it just says, hey, keep on going. It's still a live worksheet. You could work in this.
It's actually a spreadsheet. It's just a different view of the same spreadsheet.
Yeah, that adds
so all of it's still live and still available. That's neat.
It is a nice improvement. Yeah. I mean, not a reason to go out and buy it, but if you have it, you might as well take advantage of it.
Are you still kind of mixed opinion of Office 2007?
Well, when I need more than 65,000 rows, I definitely go to the new version. I'm using a lot of cool features here, as far as the conditional formatting and the icon sets. When I really need something to look good, I go to 2007.
Yeah, because it's really good at that stuff.
Need to go fast.
Right.
I'm still in Excel 2000.
Now, how much is that because your fingers know the keys and that's what you've been trained to use?
What it is.
Yeah. So somebody new coming along might do just as fast and just as well in 2007.
Certainly, if you're new, please start with 2007. It's easier to learn.
Yeah.
It's just all those people that have been using 2003 for 10 years.
Right.
And the sad fact is you don't have a choice. Your company's either going to decide or not decide. And so
it's one of those, there are a few programs like this, Photoshop's another one, where people use it day in, day out. They become very adept at it. And at that point, you really, the user interfaces should be written in stone because people are so tied into it. So it's a big risk for Microsoft to make a big shift like this. Right. We actually talked on one of my podcasts, the Windows Weekly podcast, to the user interface team and said, why? And they said, well, really what was happening was we had so many commands, it was so hard to find, we had to find a new metaphor for exposing what the programs could do. They were just too complex.
Right. And they said that they couldn't find real estate to add new commands.
Right. So what do you do?
Right. There were floating palettes in the old version.
It was crazy.
I displayed them all once. You couldn't see the spreadsheet anymore.
Yeah. You have about a stick of a Wrigley gum sized room for your Excel spreadsheet. So anyway, I understand why they did it, but it is a hardship, I think, where people really know.
It's interesting on the new Excel for the Mac, you still have the old Mac.
They had to, because of the Macintosh user interface guidelines. They couldn't completely go to that, what do they call that? The palette?
The ribbon.
The ribbon.
The ribbon.
The ribbon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Excel. The book is, and it's all in there, everything we just talked about. Learn Excel 2007 from Mr. Excel.
Now, that covers all versions, 97 through 2007.
It does say that.
I covered everything. And I'm really trying to give away 5 million copies. So seriously, tell everyone you know.
Don't feel bad for him. He wants to. Okay?
It's basically a bar bet. I mean, I can give away 5 million copies.
All right, well, we're going to help you.
Help me out.
MrExcel.com, EXCEL. Go there. Download a copy. I bet you anything you will, if you don't, in the first 100 pages, find 5 things that are going to change your life in Excel.
You can save an hour. Any one of those tips will save you an hour a week.
Absolutely.
Which is 50 hours a year. That's a week of vacation.
He's giving away money, folks. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back in just a bit with Chris Krug. He's going to talk about, what is he going to talk about? Oh, TechCom and Tech Around the Block, your community. When the lab continues, stay here. Welcome back to the lab. Let's get another caller on the slab. Who do you have, Brianna?
I have Bal from Surrey, BC.
All right. Thank you, Brianna. Hello, Bal. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Leo?
I'm wonderful. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Actually, what happened was I connected my PC to my plasma TV, so I'm using that as my monitor.
Ooh, how fancy.
Yeah, and I have a wireless keyboard and mouse, so...
cool.
So I sit on my couch and I just use my TV as my computer. And the problem is that when I try to open some programs like LimeWire or something like that, I can't read the text. I'm sitting about 10 feet away, and the text is really small. I've tried changing the DPI and even the settings in appearance, but still the text is really small.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of things. First of all, when you're now the good news is a plasma display is a digital display, just like an LCD. So in theory, this can be a really good computer display. A CRT at the old tube TVs, not so good, smeary, smushy. But these are digital, so that means you can get a great display. There's a couple of things I want you to do, though. First of all, find out what the native resolution is of your HDTV. That is, how many dots across and how many dots from top to bottom. Is it 1920 by 1080? Is it 1760 by 1020? What is that? And that's exactly the resolution you want to use in your computer. That'll maximize the crispness and the clarity. Okay? Now, you may find that print is still too small. And of course, you're using Windows?
Yeah, I'm using Windows XP.
Okay. Of course, Windows gives you some tools. Vista actually is a little bit better in this, but you can change the DPI, for instance, the number of dots per inch for text. And you probably want to have a larger number. You may also change the default text size. Some programs, though, may not pay any attention to this. LimeWire is an example. LimeWire is written in Java. And it isn't, the problem with Java, the complaint people sometimes have with Java, is it doesn't exactly have the native user interface built into it. So even if you tell Windows, I want bigger fonts, it may not change some programs like LimeWire because they're just ignoring what Windows is suggesting. But I think in general, if you play with the Windows Appearance Manager, you play with the DPI, and you make sure that you are using the native resolution of that monitor, you'll get it to look as good as it would on, a computer screen. Absolutely. Okay, so get the resolution right. That's job one, and then you can go into the appearance control panel and choose, for instance, extra large fonts. That's what I always do anyway because I'm getting old and blind as a bat. And you just have to hope that some programs, not all programs are going to monitor this, but some programs will. I have to say the DPI settings that you can now change. In XP you had these choices. And a larger number meant a larger font. But they didn't make as big a difference as they do in Vista. Vista does a better job of this. And I think it's probably because people are starting to use these kind of non-standard monitors. Okay, Bal?
All right, thanks a lot.
Find out what the native resolution is. Make sure you make the fonts as large as you can, and that's the best you can do. Sometimes it just isn't going to be perfect. All right, I'm going to take a walk over here to see Mr. Ryan Ewell because he's got a jewel, a free file just for you and me.
Yes, well, today it's a website. It's called Google Guide.
Google Guide.
Now, a while back in this segment on Googling 101, now I'm going to throw just the kitchen sink in here and let people know this site actually gives you beginners, experts, and cheat sheets.
Oh.
All the different features.
Come on, how many different things can there be in Google?
Here's something I learned that I didn't know, and I just want to quickly show this off, is that did you know that Google is actually a built-in unit converter? So for instance, if I go feet in mile, it's going to tell me there are 5,280 feet in a mile. Now, if I wanted to convert, let's say 4455676 feet in a mile. Let's search that. It's going to tell me that's 84.389 miles.
Now, that's cool.
I did not know that.
You can do kilometers. You can do all sorts of weird
You can do all
units.
kind of things. And I've shown off unit converters as a free fall before.
Yeah, but you have
now you got Google.
Yeah.
You don't even need that.
Oh, it does more than that.
Oh, it does a lot
more than that. Oh, it's amazing. But you'll find it all. What is that site?
That is googleguide.com.
But best thing to do, go to our site, right?
Labwithleo.com, free files, Jules. You'll find this and many more.
All sorts of great tips. 195 of them to date.
There you go.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
All right, let's take a quick quiz question, and then we're going to visit Mr. Chris Krug and find out about tech community. What was the name of Microsoft's first spreadsheet program? Do you know? Think twice. I'll ask Mr. Excel in just a bit. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, I asked you the name of Microsoft's first spreadsheet program. It warn't Excel. I think it was Multiplan, wasn't it? Multiplan. I used it. You used it, Mr. Excel, didn't you? Everybody used it, except for young kids like this whippersnapper Krug here. Chris Krug is back. He is the president of Rain City Studios, and he is an expert really on community, building community. With Bright, your last company, you helped build community. Now you're part of Rain Cities, still doing that same kind of thing. And I tell you, Vancouver is a great place for that kind of thing. There are a lot of, conferences and bar camps.
That's right.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're here to talk about self-organizing groups of interest, of which in Vancouver there's a bunch of geek meetups and technology meetups that take place.
You don't have to go to CES. You don't have to go to South by Southwest. You can just do it yourself right here.
For free with people who think like you and who are into the same things you are. So.
I like the idea. I guess that, it's funny, the bar camps started is a response to an organized camp that Tim O'Reilly has up in Sebastopol, California, in my neck of woods, called Friends of O'Reilly, or Foo Camp. Yeah. And you had to be A-list to get invited.
Yeah, it was perceived as pretty elitist and invite only and stuff.
So this is in reaction to that in a way.
That's right. A lot of the guys who maybe really actually build the internet.
Actually do the work.
They got together and said, let's have our own camp. Everyone's welcome.
They call it bar camp.
That's right. They do away with the idea of like a speaker and an audience, and instead everyone there is a participant.
I like that too. I'm always uncomfortable when I speak to an audience because I feel like they have as much to say as I do about this subject. It's much more interesting if we have a conversation.
Yeah.
So that's what the idea is at an unconference.
A lot of these grassroots community events are built around that idea that everyone brings something to either come and present or blog about it or help clean up or set up or help promote it or do something.
I like that. And I know you go to a ton of these.
Yeah, I go to quite a few of them, and I'm involved with organizing quite a few of them, from photography meetup groups to tonight there's a Drupal users group at my office.
You just did Northern Lights, right?
Northern Voice.
Northern Voice, yeah.
And Northern Voice is a grassroots social media and blogging conference here in Vancouver. We had about 350 people show up, and it's not put on by a company or anyone. It only costs $30 a day to come out, and
that's mostly just to pay for the room and
and the coffee that we serve you, and name badges and stuff. But it's self-organized and
I love it.
Very good.
Vancouver Transit Camp was just the other day.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Transit camps have been taking place all over the world. It's a bunch of people who concerned and interested citizens about public transit. So people who want to influence how buses and trains and things run in their area. They talk about the policies and
I think a lot of this comes about because of the web. The web is a great tool for reaching out to people, having them. For instance, if you didn't have a website that people could go to, find out about it, and register, it'd be a lot harder to do something
That's right.
like
There's a couple tools that make it really easy. One that I pulled up here is meetup.com. Meetup, here, this is the Vancouver listing, and as you can see, Vancouver sports fans groups, Vancouver photography meetup group, Vancouver marketers meetup group, ballroom and salsa dancing.
So what is a meetup exactly?
Meetup is just a get together. Often happens at a bar or a restaurant. People who interested in sports, interested in
We've done a lot of
meetups,
both around this show and around podcasting, and I think they're really fun.
So Meetup gives you some great tools for organizing those events.
Right.
If you want to take it one step farther, I brought up this other site. It's called PB Wiki. It's a free wiki software that is used by the Bar Camp Association.
So you'd sign up for an account here for free.
That's right.
And you'd create a website that's a wiki that...
It's a website, called a wiki that just means that anyone can edit it. So you could, say, put up a start of an idea. Let's have a meetup. And then someone else could come and say, yes, let's have it on this date. And someone else could say, yeah, and here's a venue. And so it's a way to collaboratively plan events.
So really hierarchy kind of starts disappearing in these events, but also even in the websites about the events. There's nobody really in charge. Everybody contributes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's some caretakers, people who make sure that, spammers or unwelcome people stay out. But leaders emerge and kind of ebb and flow through, but there's not a hierarchy.
But the leader is by consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I kind of like that.
And willingness to do the work. And
more of that than anything else. The fact that you're stepping forward and say, all right, I'll do it. Is there somewhere you can go to get some information, some help for doing this kind of thing? I mean, is there a template?
If you go to barcamp.org, the beautiful part is they've open sourced a lot of the infrastructure of holding these type of events. So budgets, they have budgets for if you want to put on one of these events in your neighborhood or in your locale. They have agendas and different planning spreadsheets and stuff. So you can go download all the resources and just start with your own event.
When people started doing this, they were making it up as they go along, but now there's enough experience behind it that we can go to places like barcamp.org.
Leo, this is the upcoming barcamp schedule. There's five in India coming up, Thailand, South America.
You do them in China.
Yeah, we've done one in Beijing and two in Shanghai. Yeah.
That is I have to say, I go to a lot of conferences and I almost always say, boy, I wish this were an unconference. I wish this were a bar camp, because it's really, what it's really about is community sharing, working together to really build a better world. And I love that feeling.
We all have things we're good at and passionate about. We get a bunch of smart people together and share ideas, and it works out really well.
More information, you can go to our website. We'll have links to all of these sites, labwithleo.com. And of course, you can learn more about Chris and Rain City Studios at their site, raincitystudios.com. When's the next event you've got coming up?
I'm headed to Texas, South by Southwest next week, and there's an Austin bar camp taking place down there, and just a whole host of birds of a feather type workshops and fashion meetups and stuff. So.
Fashion meetups, how fun. Yeah. Well, you're a fashion plate, not me. I couldn't go in this shirt and say, what fashion would that be?
Fashion nothing. I think my turtleneck's about to swallow my head.
Hey, thanks so much, Chris Krug. We'll see you again real soon. We're going to take a break, come back. Actually, Brianna's got a good tip for us. Is it Bubble? Crazy Egg. Crazy Egg. Coming up when the lab continues. You stay right here. I don't know where I got Welcome back to the lab. We have a few minutes left, and I want to hear about your crazy bubble.
It's just a crazy egg.
Just a crazy egg?
Bubbles. No,
what is
no
crazy
bubbles
egg?
Well, we were talking to Monique earlier about Google Analytics and checking out your website and see where people are clicking and all that. So Crazy Egg is free for a basic plan, and with the basic plan, you can track up to 4 pages.
Oh, so these are networks. These are website stats.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's visualizing your analytics. So
see, I like that because it's much easier with a graph and stuff.
Yeah, so they have something called a heat map and also something called confetti. So it's really cool. I did our website, and since I only use the trial version,
you can only do a few pages.
I'm only up to 5,000 clicks. I had this up for 6 days, and we ran out of clicks.
Yeah,
all our viewers clicking on the website.
So this is a heat map?
This one here is the heat map. So it shows you color-wise where most of the clicks are going. So the free files, obviously,
really
latest show, they're checking it out.
People love those free files, Ryan.
Yeah, they do. Free anything. Also,
what's that?
It's confetti. So each click that's ever been on the website is represented by a dot.
Oh, that's
And when you hover over the dot, it gives you the specs. So that person
who did it?
Direct came to this site, and they were using Windows Vista, all that kind of stuff.
That's really neat. Now, this stuff is all in your log, so there are other tools that you can use for this.
Exactly.
But it's kind of nice if you just have something like this, because the visualizations make a big difference.
And they have a free account that you can have, but like I said, it's limited.
How much for the paid?
The lower end one is $9, but it can get up to $100 a month.
Per month?
Yeah.
Depending on how much you need. Very cool. Thank you, Brianna. That's crazyegg.com.
Yep.
Well, we're going to say goodbye to Sean Carruthers. He's been a part of this show since we started in Canada, but we're not saying goodbye, just adios.
Yeah, unfortunately, my job here, I've been replaced by a robot.
Well, he's a lot cheaper. He works for longer hours, and he has no interest in J-pop, which I think is a plus. So he loves that Japanese pop music. So no, we're going to miss you, Sean, but we can catch you on LabRats, labrats.tv. Sean's going back to Toronto to be with Andy Walker. I mean, not... Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on The Lab. Say hi to Andy for me.